Trump begins picking his team. India supporter Marco Rubio tipped for Secretary of State. Mike Waltz, who heads a committee of lawmakers on India and Indian Americans, likely to be the National Security Advisor. India and Russia hold a meeting of the Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, Technical and Cultural Cooperation in New Delhi. And Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz says there will be no ceasefire in Lebanon, reiterates that Israel will continue to hit Hezbollah targets. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and Russia's first Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov co-chair the 25th session of the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, Technological and Cultural Cooperation in New Delhi on Tuesday. Minister Jaishankar was confident that India would achieve a trade target of $100 billion before 2030.
There have been challenges to trade, especially in regard to payments and logistics. Perceptible progress has been made in that regard, but there is still some work to be done. Our joint endeavors in regard to connectivity, such as the International North-South Transport Corridor, the Chennai-Vladivostok Corridor, and the Northern Sea Route must go forward. We will also be discussing cooperation critical for our food, energy, and health security. Russia has emerged as a major source of fertilizers for us. Its supply of crude oil, coal and uranium are indeed important. Similarly, India's pharmaceutical industry has emerged as an affordable and reliable source for Russia. Looking ahead, we are also exploring the mobility of talent and skills. Customizing them for the Russian market has to be a shared enterprise. Excellency, I am confident that we will achieve the trade target of $100 billion by 2030, well before that.
Minister Manturov confirmed Russia's strong commitment on signing a free trade agreement between the EU and India, as well as a bilateral agreement on services and investments.
Over the last 5 years, trade turnover of our country has grown more than fivefold, and India is now the second country among all the foreign economic partners of Russia. The positive tendency is maintained this year as well. Over the first 8 months, the trade turnover has grown by 9% as compared to last year. We confirm our strong commitment on signing the free trade agreement between the EU and India, as well as bilateral agreement on services and investments. This fully meets the needs of our business community.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed an election rally at Chimur in Maharashtra's Chandrapur district. The state will be going to the polls on the 20th of November. The election will be held in one phase. The Prime Minister said that the BJP's manifesto would act as a pledge for Maharashtra's development.
ये संकल्प पत्र में लाड़की बहनों के लिए, हमारे किसान भाई बहनों के लिए, देश की युवा शक्ति के लिए, महाराष्ट्र के विकास के लिए एक से बढ़कर एक शानदार संकल्प लिए गए। अगले 5 साल के लिए महाराष्ट्र के विकास की गारंटी बनेगा।
In the eastern Indian state of Jharkhand, preparations are on in full swing for phase 1 of an election which is set to begin on Wednesday across 43 constituencies. Polling teams are being dispatched to their designated areas. 225 booths deemed sensitive have already been staffed. The Indian Air Force helicopters have been deployed to transport officials and election materials. 15,344 polling booths have been set up. More than 200 security companies are on duty to ensure a smooth voting process. More than 1.37 crore voters will decide the fate of 683 candidates, including 73 women. The second phase of polling will be held on the 20th of November. Votes will be counted on the 23rd. In Sri Lanka, campaigning for the 14 November parliamentary election ended on Monday. Polling will be held on Thursday between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. local time at 13,400 polling stations where a 17 million strong electorate can exercise their right to vote. More than 8,800 candidates are in the fray for 196 seats from 22 electoral districts and 29 national list seats. The Election Commission has said that 75,000 police personnel have been deployed across the island. Sri Lanka elected Anurag Kumara Dissanayake as the president in September this year. Soon thereafter, he dissolved the country's parliament, paving the way for a snap parliamentary election.
As citizens of this country and as a businessman involved in the leisure sector, we expect a stable government which can bring up this economy. Tourism plays a very vital role in Sri Lankan economy. Therefore, peaceful environment that is conducive to carry out any business is what we anticipate from the election.
In my opinion, I think Jatika Janabalawege or the National People's Power stands out as the best option. Being a corruption-free movement that advocates integrity, accountability and transparency.
Moving on, Germany is set to hold a snap election on 23rd February. The Social Democrats, Greens and Conservatives have reached a compromise on the date of poll. The timing of a confidence vote still remains open though. Opposition parties wanted a vote as early as January, but Chancellor Olaf Scholz warned that the January vote would overstretch the electoral authorities during the holiday season, leaving parties unprepared. Scholz, who runs a minority government with the backing of the Greens, hopes to secure enough opposition support to pass laws to protect the Constitutional Court from the far right and to fund Ukraine before leaving office. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has begun the process of picking his cabinet and selecting other high-ranking officials. The cabinet appointees will have a direct impact on implementing Trump's policies in his second term. Here are the early picks and probables for some of the key posts overseeing defense, intelligence, diplomacy, trade, immigration, and economic policy making.
Donald Trump continues to pick his team ahead of taking charge as the 47th president of the U.S. Florida Senator Marco Rubio is set to be the U.S. Secretary of State. Rubio is a known India supporter, having introduced the U.S.-India Defense Cooperation Act to expand bilateral cooperation and strengthen the security partnership between the two nations in July this year. He advocates a tough stance on China and is an ardent support for Ukraine. Mike Waltz, a National Guard colonel, will serve as the National Security Advisor. This pick also augurs well for Indo-US relations. Waltz is the co-chair of the Congressional Caucus on India and Indian Americans and has advocated for stronger US defense and security cooperation with India. He has been advocating for a more aggressive US defense posture in the Indo-Pacific. These two key appointments in Trump's second administration signal the continuous bipartisan support and further strengthening of the bilateral ties. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem has been assigned as the task of Homeland Security Secretary. Former Congressman Lee Zeldin will lead the EPA. Former ICE Director Tom Homan returns as border czar, focusing on immigration enforcement. Elise Stefanik will be the US ambassador to the UN, pushing for a more US centric approach, especially on Israel in the Israel Hamas conflict. Susan Wiles, a key Trump campaign strategist, will be the White House Chief of Staff. These picks reflect Trump's priority in security, diplomacy, immigration, and the environment. Bureau Report, DDI India.
Now, the grind of US election season is behind us. Here's a story of a New York City-based dance company called Battery Dance that shows how performance art has the power to bring diverse people and cultures together. The story of Jonathan Holder has a special India Connect too. DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh has more.
Dance has always been a powerful tool of expression. The rhythmic moves tell a story that words often fail. This is Battery Dance, a New York-based dance company that aims to create lasting social impact by increasing human understanding and improving lives through the universal expression of dance.
We've worked in 75 countries around the world, so connecting people, creating beautiful art, uplifting people who don't have the same advantages that we do. So my first exposure to dance really happened in India when I was a teenager living in Mumbai. There's no country that has the diversity of dance in India. I created a production called Songs of Tagore, and I also created a work called Shakti.
Battery Dance performs on the world's stages, teaches, presents and advocates for the field of dance. Through the award-winning Dancing to Connect program, the company uses dance as a tool for building social cohesion and resolving conflicts throughout the world.
So we created a program called Dancing to Connect in 2006, and little did we know that that program that started in Germany, Cambodia, and New York would go around the world to 65 countries, and among them Israel and the Palestinian territories. And what we find is dance is universal, and if we can get away from politics and away from the differences in cultures and religion and just find the common humanity of young people, and that's what we have been able to do through Dancing to Connect.
Battery performances are characterized by choreography and music inspired by worldwide sources.
Now, India's Foreign Minister Jaishankar and the Chief Minister of Odisha State are launching the Prasar Bharati Divas 2024 website. Prasar Bharati Divas is celebrated on 9th January every year to mark the contribution of the Indian diaspora in the development of India. Let's take you live to the event.
From the early indentured laborers to the modern entrepreneurs and professionals who have now made their mark globally, every generation of Indians abroad have left a unique legacy, enriching both their host countries and India. The Indian government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has always prioritized the well-being of the Indian diaspora worldwide. The Prime Minister's regular interactions with the diaspora during his official visits abroad, the organization of the Prasar Bharati Divas, and the tremendous support demonstrated by our diaspora on events like this are testimony to the strong bonds between India and its global community. Prasar Bharati Divas is more than just a celebration. It is an invitation to action. Today, as we confront various global challenges, the strength of our diaspora provides us a pillar of support and a strong foundation to address them adequately. I am confident that the diaspora will continue to play a notable role in India's march towards becoming Vikasit Bharat by 2047. Let us walk this path together with the strength and unity that has always defined us. That is why we have chosen Viksit Bharat ki Sankalpna mein Pravasi Bharatiyon ka Yogdan, that is diaspora's contribution to a Viksit Bharat, as the overarching theme for the upcoming 18th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. Friends, I am sure that Bhubaneswar, known as the Temple City, will offer a unique experience to delegates attending the PBD. Blessed with natural beauty and a remarkable cultural and architectural heritage, Bhubaneswar provides an ideal setting for delegates to experience India's rich cultural legacy. As you all know, the PBD is a 3-day event which begins with a youth PBD on day 1, the formal inauguration on day 2, and a valedictory session chaired by Rashtrapati Ji on day 3, during which the Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Awards will be conferred. The 18th PBD will feature 5 thematic plenary sessions covering themes ranging from sustainable development to women's empowerment. The event will also showcase exhibitions on Ramayana and for the first time highlight the contributions of the diaspora to technology as part of our message that India moves from both tradition and technology together. State government of Odisha also intends to install an exhibition to showcase its rich cultural heritage, diversity and artistry. The ministry would be extending invitations to the winners of the ongoing Bharat Ko Janiye quiz and to participants of two batches of its flagship Know India program to attend the upcoming PBD. The website of the 18th PBD has been designed and developed to serve as a single point for important information required by Pravasis. It would facilitate registration of participants, booking of accommodation, and other necessary formalities. It also provides details of the program, logistics, advisories, tourist attractions, and religious sites in Odisha. With the launch of the website today, the registration process for participants is now open, and delegates are encouraged to register as soon as possible. Friends, the success of the PBD hinges around the participation of Pravasi.
Right, you were watching the launch of the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas 2025 website by India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar. Now, the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas is celebrated on 9th January every year to mark the contribution of the Indian diaspora in the development of India. And still to come on DDI India Live. North Korea ratifies a defense treaty with Russia. And India celebrates National Bird Day to mark the birth anniversary of Dr. Salim Ali.
Politics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DDI India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. As the US ramped up pressure on Israel to address Gaza aid crisis, Israel said that it has met most demands by the US ahead of the deadline. But Israel also said that a number of other things remained under discussion. Israeli army video released on Tuesday showed trucks carrying humanitarian aid entering Gaza through the new Kisufim aid crossing. Earlier in a letter, the Biden government warned Israel of potential halt to arms transfers if it did not take action to let more humanitarian aid into Gaza. Among the US demands, which Israel appears to have refused, is allowing the entry of 50 to 100 commercial trucks a day. Israel on Tuesday launched at least 10 airstrikes in Beirut's southern suburbs, causing blasts that shook the capital around mid-morning local time. The explosion followed an Israeli military warning identifying 12 sites in the southern suburbs, saying that it would strike Hezbollah targets there. Earlier in the day, Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz said there will be no ceasefire in Lebanon, reiterating that Israel will continue strikes on Hezbollah targets until the war objectives are met. North Korea ratified a defense treaty with Russia, pledging mutual military aid in case of an attack. On Tuesday, North Korea's state media reported that this defense deal was signed by the two leaders in June, with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un signing a decree to ratify the pact on Monday. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has signed the treaty into law, stipulating mutual assistance. The announcement came at a crucial time amid growing international concerns over military cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang, with North Korea having sent its troops to Russia to support its conflict with Ukraine. Philippines' National Defense Secretary Gilberto Theodoro, in a meeting with his Australian counterpart in Canberra on Tuesday, said that China is putting ever greater pressure on the Philippines to cede its sovereign rights in the South China Sea. The South China Sea has been a disputed area for both China and the Philippines. This being their fifth meeting, it shows Australia and Philippines' growing security ties and concerns over Chinese activity in areas of the South China Sea.
What we see is an increasing demand by Beijing for us to concede our sovereign rights in the area because of our need to explore and exploit the resources in these areas for the benefit of our own people. And that is clear. We don't need to enter into a geopolitical nexus for determining the root cause of the problem, because we are direct victims of Chinese aggression in this and in a concentrated area thus far in the West Philippine Sea.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Gutterz asked world leaders at COP29 on Tuesday to pay up to prevent climate-led humanitarian disasters. He said that time was running out to limit a destructive rise in global temperatures.
The clean energy revolution is here. No group, no business, and no government can stop it. But you can and must ensure it is fair and fast enough to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. COP29 must tear down the walls of climate finance. Developing countries must not leave Baku empty-handed. A deal is a must, and I'm confident it will be reached.
In his keynote speech at COP29, Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev hits out at Western critics of his country's oil and gas industry, saying it had been the victim of a well-orchestrated campaign of slander and blackmail. The comments came on the second day of a summit at which nearly 200 nations are meeting to discuss how they can cut fossil fuel emissions, and moments before United Nations Secretary General Antonio Gutterz said doubling down on fossil fuels was an absurd strategy. Azerbaijan's oil and gas revenues accounted for 35% of its economy in 2023, down from 50% 2 years ago. In other news, UK unemployment has risen more than anticipated according to official data released on Tuesday as businesses warn about slowing job growth following the new Labour government's increase in business taxes in its recent budget. As per official data, the unemployment rate rose to 4.3% in the third quarter, up from 4% in the 3 months to the end of August. In Nepal, the price of large cardamom has surged due to rising global demand. Currently, the market price is nearing a record 2,500 per kilogram in the local currency. This high-value cash crop is primarily grown in eastern Nepal, which accounts for 68% of the world's production, making the country the largest producer of large cardamom, followed by India and Bhutan. The spice is a key ingredient in South Asian cuisine. National Bird Day is being celebrated in India. The day marks the birth anniversary of a famous Indian ornithologist and naturalist, Dr. Salim Ali. He was fondly known as the Birdman of India.
The study of birds, ornithology, is incomplete without the mention of the person famously known as the Birdman of India. Dr. Salim Muizuddin Abdul Ali, the first person to conduct systematic bird surveys across India, the first person who advanced the study of birds in the country. Born on 12th November 1896, Dr. Salim popularized ornithology in India. Dr. Ali helped create the Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary and the Ranganathittu Bird Sanctuary. Dr. Ali was awarded the Padma Bhushan and the Padma Vibhushan for his contribution and research in the field of ornithology. Dr. Ali also received the Gold Medal of the British Ornithologists' Union in 1967. Salim not only researched about birds but also contributed to the arena of protection of nature, natural conservation. His contribution to research and writings on birds is the guidebook for every person curious about the world of birds. His famous publication, The Book of Indian Birds, popularized ornithology among the common man. He later collaborated with the famous ornithologist S. Dillon Ripley to write the extensive 10-volume handbook of the birds of India and Pakistan, which took 10 years of research to complete. The 10-volume work covers the birds of the subcontinent, their appearance, habitat, breeding habits, and migration pattern, among other things. Dr. Salim Ali wrote numerous journal articles, popular and academic books, and field guides. Among the several books authored by him, the Book of Indian Birds still remains the Bible for budding ornithologists. Bureau Report, DD India.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India Live. You can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download it. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.